Well, good morning, everybody in the United States of America. Good afternoon for the people in Europe, and good evening for the people in Asia. My name is Nick Palavita. I'm not your host for the World Edition. That's going to be up to Steve Rao and Mark Lee, who are going to be joining us very shortly. But today we have two really special guests, Sherry Kerr and Sam Black, who are going to listen to what they have to say. But before we go there, we're going to jump and go find Steve Rao from the all-American city of Morrisville. That no one knows where it is, but Steve sits on the city council of Morrisville. It's in North Carolina, and very few people around the world know where that is. That's in the United States of America. So Steve, who's very proud of Morrisville, that no one knows where it is, gives Morrisville more attention around the world on the Pod TV network than anybody else I know of. So far, our 2.3 million viewers last year. We're going to bring in none other than Steve Rao. So Steve Rao coming in from Morrisville right now.
Actually, great. And I'm sorry for the headsets, guys. Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're coming in good.
I'm sorry. I got going with my settings, and only my headsets are working. I have a new computer, so I'll go back to no headsets soon. But welcome to World Edition. And I'm sorry I was a few minutes late. Just wanted to welcome everyone to our show. Yes, the All-America city of Morrisville in the Research Triangle Park, which is right near the famous university, Duke University, University of North Carolina, and NC State. Companies from all around the world call this area home, and we're very excited with cricket. It was announced that the T20 World Cup more has been shortlisted as a venue for that. So more to that, we had some great cricket fans come through and watch the Major League Championships, which ended in Dallas. I haven't had time to check and see who won that. And we want to welcome you to World Edition, where we're going to talk about a lot of really interesting issues before we bring on our guests. Just a reminder that one area that has been a lot of concern is the country of Niger, as their leader was thrown out of government by the military. And the bloc of West African nations imposing sanctions. President Biden and the United Nations have called us out, and Secretary Blinken as well. Everyone concerned. It's once again an example of the autocratic nationalism that's taking place all over the country. Factory activity in China fell for a fourth straight month, so people are concerned about China's economy. What does that mean for the future of the global economy? And where does India fall into the mix, as today it's the fifth largest economy? Indian Independence Day is coming up soon, and John Chambers, former CEO of Cisco, has said that he predicts this economy, India, will be the number one economy in the next decade. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, the plea deal was rejected. They'll be going back into courts in a few weeks. This has really made the presidential race very intense, with new charges being filed against President Trump for the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. So, although DeSantis raised $20 million last quarter, so who knows? Maybe DeSantis will be able to pull through a victory. And finally, I'll just end with the fact that I'm going to end with just some insights about American infrastructure. Yesterday, I was coming back from Washington on the Amtrak train, and my wife and I were in a train without air conditioning for over 2.5 hours because the engine had not arrived yet to be put with the train, and they were converting from diesel back to electric now, or electric to diesel. But I got to tell you, it really made me wonder about the state of American infrastructure. On this show, we've talked about the billions of dollars being invested by the AARP, and I find it ironic that the President of the United States has more experience with Amtrak than probably any president of the United States, since when he was U.S. Senator, Joe Biden would come back every day from the U.S. Senate to visit his boys, who he was raising as a single father until he met Joe Biden, his current wife, and obviously First Lady of the United States. It's just been terrible to see the fact that the customer service has been down, the trains do not look like they're upgraded, and constant delays on Amtrak, and even the Wi-Fi wasn't working. I raise these points because as we have these discussions and we talk about transit and commuter rail and all these things in North Carolina and around the country, where is the infrastructure in America? And as we speak, countries like India and China and Japan and others have made these investments in high-speed rail. I don't know how much longer the American people are going to wait, but let's hope that we can take the president on a tour of Amtrak one day, just like Winston Churchill went on the subway when he finally made a decision to get into World War II and take out Adolf Hitler with our allies. Well, let's get started. I want to bring in our guest. I'm here till about 10:30 today. Nick, thank you for letting me open up the show and for marketing Morrisville all around the world. I guess I'm the ambassador of Morrisville. Thank you. Sherry Kerr, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And it's pronounced Cherie.
Cherie, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Cherie.
Well, tell us a little about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, Cherie.
Well, as I understand, I'm here to talk about improv comedy today,
There we
or
go.
comedy in general.
That's good.
I'm in the LA area. I'm in Orange County, which everybody makes fun of. I think you probably have heard of Orange County, California. That's where Disneyland
Irvine.
is. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
next to Irvine. I'm in North Tustin, which
Okay.
isn't far from Irvine.
Yep.
And I have a background as a publicist. I've had a PR firm for many, many years, and now I just consult mostly. I have a consultancy in PR. And also I have a group called the Orange County Crazies. It's a comedy organization that's been around in Santa Ana for 33 years now. And we do sketch, stand-up, and improv. But I also teach improv comedy to would-be comics. And also I have a company called Execuprov. And we've been around for 40 years, and we teach improv in all of our presentation and communication skills lessons to make people better performers.
Okay. Yeah, we need a lot of your help on Pod TV because the people here, they're not very funny and they're not good on their feet. So you're
They
in the right.
probably are. We actually have a class called How to Think Fast on Your Feet Without Putting Them in Your Mouth.
These people are incredibly slow. But he's so slow, he didn't even show up this morning. But we're going to bring him because one of our producers for the World Edition, you probably heard of him, Mark Lee.
Oh, of course, Mark.
Are you awake?
I'm here, and like I said, I was also texting Mr. Jatovi and all along those lines. So definitely glad to see that Cherie is here and all in that kind of space. So definitely in that kind of way. I know we've got Sam Black with us as well. So I'm trying to see if Jatovi will join us, but I was actually busy last night working on one of our shows because we got Rick Rosner, who is the definitely is a Mensa person and an amazing person, but he and Lance do this show that we do called Naked at Night, and we were over there late night on Sundays, which we oftentimes are.
Hey, Mark, you're beaming out.
Oh,
Mark,
Nick,
hello.
maybe you can lip sync for him. Just
Yeah,
pretend like you know what he's saying and just talk.
These people are have some issues. But Sam, tell us a little about yourself. Who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, my name is Sam Black. I'm the author of a new book called The Healing Church, What Churches Get Wrong About Pornography and How to Fix It. And I'm also the director of recovery education at Covenant Eyes.
Okay, and what city are you in?
I'm in Owasso, Michigan.
Owasso, Michigan.
It's a little burg east of Lansing.
Okay, east of Lansing. So that's like Michigan State, right?
Yeah, right. You got the idea.
I do kind of know that particular area.
It's a little ways from Morrisville, North Carolina.
Well, this guy Steve literally is making Morrisville famous because he sits on the city council. That's his real job. He's a councilman, and every time he opens the World Edition for the last 3 years that I know of, he goes from the old city of Morrisville. Right now, we have people coming in from Canada today, Australia. People watch this in New Zealand. We watch in 200 countries, and they come to me and they go, and I say, "Hey, we're located in Raleigh." The first thing they go is, "Where's Raleigh?" They don't have a clue. They do not have a clue.
Some people around the world know Research Triangle, though.
We're North Carolina. And I say United States. Oh yeah, U.S. Okay, so that's where you're from. So when Steve goes Morrisville, I cringe because I'm going, I know these people around the world have no clue where Morrisville is. So
Well, I'm hoping with city. Well,
yeah, I know it's an all-American city, Steve, and it's famous in Raleigh. But honestly, outside of the North Carolina, No one knows jack about Morrisville.
Nobody knows. Hopefully, y'all can hear me now.
They
But nobody
barely
knows
know
Morrisville
Durham.
except for those that are flying into the airport. Because if
What?
they're flying into the airport, they're literally flying into Morrisville. So it is an international
I
airport.
know-
So
I know
if I
they
remember
are.
correctly, Morrisville is there.
Yeah. All I know is I haven't been arrested in Morrisville. I've been detained in Orange County, where Cherie's from. But I tried to tear up a ticket there, and you used to be able to do that, by the way, because the jurisdiction didn't talk to each other. So if you got a local ticket, you do is you tear it up, throw it in the trash can. But that was like 30, 40 years ago. Today, they contact you because they're all in a shared database and say, you didn't pay your ticket, and they're all after you. So tell us about Healing Church and pornography. Why is pornography so big, and why are churches involved in it, Sam? What's the deal?
Well, let me make sure I understand what you're asking. What's the big deal about pornography, or what's the big deal about pornography in the church?
Yeah. Tell me, why is that? I'm a busy guy, right? And so, see, a lot of things I don't do is I'm not spending a lot of time with pornography. I don't know that has the time for that. And then the church is getting all mixed up into this stuff. I'm going like, don't you guys have better things to do?
Better things to do, right? I think really what I'm trying to show in the book is that sometimes people have difficult behaviors, compulsive behaviors that often are rooted in deeper wounds. And as Christians, attempt to follow Christ. And one of the things he espoused was, if you look on another and objectify them and use them for your personal gratification, etc., outside of marriage, that's even worse, right? We don't want to objectify one another. But the whole idea is that how are we living up to our Christian ethic? And is there something really more deeply rooted than the issue of pornography itself? Is there something that's harming us in our mind, body, and spirit that we've never really dealt with? And so what we often see is three common factors among those who struggle with when they say, I don't want this in my life. Now, it's different if you're from a secular point of view and say, hey, I don't care about pornography. Pornography is not my issue. But if you've said to yourself, hey, this is something I want out of my life, or I promised myself and others I wouldn't go back, but I keep coming back even when I don't want to. What's going on? Is there something deeper going on? And I think that's worth examining. And so there's three commonalities that we often see for people who have deeper struggles. And that is the early exposure, especially as a child, the ongoing use and repetition often through adolescence, and typically some drama or trauma that's happened often early in life, where people aren't just watching pornography, they're watching pornography literally to regulate their moods, anesthetize their emotions. And so we want to help the church really be more understanding, loving, kind, respectful, and be supportive as people are looking into the deeper foundations of why someone might struggle.
Hey, Sam, just really quickly, and this is actually going to tie the two together and all in that space. During the pandemic, I know a lot of people got into escapism. They got into different ways to escape whatever was going on, the traumas that we were going through and all of that. Actually, the reason that I was late was I was up with Rick Rosner, who is doing a show that we have called Naked at Night, where he's literally being painted, not really nude, but like semi-nude, because he's topless, basically, like the shirt off and all in that. And it is definitely some going back and forth debate, because they are of contrasting political views. He and his painter friend, Lance, one is very conservative, the other is very liberal, and all in that space. So I was going to ask both you and Cherie, how much has escapism just played a role in our society, particularly over the last 3 years? Because when I think of ways that people have escaped, they have definitely turned, and some people would say definitely, unfortunately, to pornography, but they've also turned to comedy as a way to escape the traumas that we have been.
Well,
if you're
comedy's a lot
asking
more
me,
nice.
I think comedy is one of the most therapeutic things anybody can do. In fact, when we do an improv class, we tell everyone it's better than going to therapy. There's a lot of freedom in it. There's a lot of expression in it. It's a very healthy and positive outlet and distraction. And I think it's an equalizer. I think without humor, I don't know how people manage to live in this world. That's just my opinion. But I have enough work in that area to tell the people who do surround themselves with comedy, stuff that is satirical or is able to be some kind of a therapeutic release, to comment on what's absurd, what's crazy, insecurities and all. It's a very healthy way to deal with stress. So I'm a big advocate of that, and I make sure I have a good measure of it in my life every day.
Yeah, I'll just pack on to what Cherie says is that my wife and I went and saw a comedy movie last night because part of it was right at the last. We says, well, we don't have to go. After we go to Home Depot, we can skip this movie and go home. She goes, no, you've been working pretty hard and a lot's been going on, and I think it's good for you to laugh, right? So the good medication, right?
Here's a statistic for you. The average child laughs about 22 times a day. The average adult, after about 30 years old, laughs 7 times a day, if even that. So that tells you something about the stress and yeah, go see a comedy, do comedy, take a comedy class, write some comedy, but find a way to balance out the stress. And I have a book out. I have several books out, but one is called Funny Business, How to Make You Laugh on the Job Every Day. And it really teaches people at work how to lighten up the day with different intervals of comedy, things they can do throughout the day to keep, again, a good equilibrium mentally and psychologically. So even though it's fun to go and see a movie that's funny and do all those things, I think when people look beyond the reason for that, they understand that it's a very healthy way to live. And I know that it certainly has worked for me in some very difficult times to just turn to humor and to laugh at all of it.
Absolutely.
One of the things we're talking about here is self-care, right? We're talking about how do we care for ourselves in mind, body, and spirit. And one of the books that Covenant Eyes offers through its Covenant Eyes resources is a free ebook called Hobbies and Habits. Why do we need hobbies and habits? It's because they allow us to do productive, enjoyable, fun, exciting things that focus our heart, mind, body, and spirit on things that are good, things that are productive, things that are exciting, things that are fun, things that are dopamine producing. We're meant to enjoy this life. We're meant to live it to its fullest. And so whether you're studying comedy or whether you are involved in woodworking or something that is creating joy in your life, putting a smile on your face, and absolutely is one of the things we can. Part of our brain operates under this neuroplasticity. So the more you do one thing that's away from negative behaviors, whether it's food or drugs or alcohol or pornography or something else, when you are focusing on healthy habits instead of negative habits, you get to rewire your brain to desire more fun and ignoring the old neural pathways that were more destructive behaviors to how you felt.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Hey, Sam, just real quickly, Sam and Steve, if I can play devil's advocate here slightly, and I know that Sam, you're a Christian man, and all along those lines, so I probably should have used that particular term. Definitely.
Yeah, it's okay. You can call me a Christian man. That's fine.
I'd make some jokes about that, but I think I won't.
Thank you. Mark, we can't hear what you're saying. You're muted right now.
Yeah, Mark, we can't hear anything. I'm kind of curious because
he's got a
I
mute
had the
button
same jokes that probably Cherie had.
I was going to make some kind of joke about priests coming out, but I'll just pass on.
Well, the more we talk and are more social, and the opposite of compulsive or addictive behaviors is community. The more we're in connection with others, that's a powerful thing.
You know, that's true. When we doing improv comedy, Jatovia, I think you'll back me up on this. It's a very metaphysical experience because there's never, when you have actors on stage, let's say you have 3 players on stage, it's never about one person. It's about that unit in that particular scene in that moment. And everybody that has a good spirit about it, that follow the what we call the servant support rule, they will sort of blend and fuse and do a piece of work. They don't even know where it's going or how it came to them, but it just happens. And there's something very spiritual about that. I think that's what I love most about improv. It's limitless and it's positive, and it does equalize everyone on stage to share in the fun, and not one person take over, not one person try to control or dominate. And it is a very spiritual thing.
Cherie, are the actors out of jobs now? I mean, last I heard, all the actors are on strike, all the writers are on strike, and Hollywood is out of business for at least
All the union people are, but people like me, I'm just in pre-production on my 4th film. It's a 3rd in a trilogy of sequels of a comedy. We're non-union, so we can do what we want right now if we want to, but we're not actually in production. We're just in pre-production. But I think it may last until the end of the year, and I have a lot of friends who are really struggling because of it, and it's really bothersome. I hope that they can find a way to resolve it.
Well, don't they have good unemployment in California?
Yeah, but they have certain benefits that if they don't make enough money, they can't use those or enjoy them. And it really sets them back, because even with unemployment, there's a lot of them are still lacking in just making their monthly nut. I have a lot of friends who are just actors and who do guest spots or recurring roles, small roles on shows. And when they're not working, they can't pay their bills.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's not a fun place then to be right now.
I think it's very difficult right now. And I think it's going to last for a while. That's my sense from people I talk to, but you never know. And, with the Writers Guild and all the writers are on strike as well as the actors, it makes it really difficult, but it also opens the door for people like me who are in the indie world for us to pump out and get product placed a little easier because people need content.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And Sam, see, in the church I'm a member of, they always talk, I mean, not always, but every now and then they'll keep talking about pornography. And I go, there's so many issues in the world that are important, that are problematic. Why does pornography even rank? Now, I mean, I can see being against child pornography, that's it. But frankly, I don't really care what these people do in their spare time. If they want to look at naked women, naked men, or whatever the heck they're doing, I could care less. I do care a lot about, and I know Sasha's backstage, the war in Ukraine, which hurts people. I do care a lot about abortion. I think that's a real important issue that we don't dwell enough in. Housing in the United States, which is horrible. And the fact is, what got our network started is the average American can't get $400 to save their lives. So I'm saying average, 40% of America can't get a hold of $400 in the event of emergency. So when I'm looking at all the important issues, and our church brings up pornography, I go, put that way down the list. You can only deal with so many issues. So why is that so important to churches?
Yeah, thank you. Well, your church is very unusual because only 7% of churches, period,
It's a Mormon church, by the way,
offer any support at all.
I would say they're a fairly conservative church, so they're like not into that stuff. I'm just not.
Yeah, only 7% of churches offer any actual help or support at all. So why would we matter? And outside of the faith, does it matter? I'm just gonna leave that as a separate thing. I think we do need to think about how trafficking is important, but let's set that aside for now because that's a very important issue. People shouldn't be trafficked regardless of their age, but or pressured into doing things or they don't desire to do, etc. So let's set that part aside. What you did say is that you go to church, and so maybe it should matter more to the person who's attending a church because we're saying we're followers of Christ. Now, if you don't follow Christ, then maybe you do what you want to do. And if you say, hey, I recognize that there's a lot of trafficking that goes on within pornography, that people are often forced into pornography. Often there's a whole series of there. I've served on with the Michigan State Police and others in the courts here in Michigan on a support council for trafficking. So, but that set aside, just for a minute, is if you say, I'm a follower of Christ, should you not follow? Now, if you're not, well, then maybe you're saying, hey, that doesn't matter on the world stage. But if we're talking about what we talk about in the church, then yeah, it certainly should matter.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to leave early, but get an update from Sasha Starr. Get an update from Sasha Starr. I want to thank both of the guests for coming. I've got to leave early today, but I'll be back for the whole show tomorrow. Thank you all so much. And thank you for being with us today.
Steve's going to be leaving. That's basically it. Sasha, what are your thoughts? I mean, pornography, and you juxtapose that with the war in Ukraine. I'm sitting there going, wait, there's a war going on, which to me is high up in the importance. Some guy in the back room who's looking at naked women or men or together. I don't put that as a high priority importance. So what is your thoughts, Sasha?
Okay, first about pornography. I don't see any connection between people who are for pornography or against pornography or don't care about pornography. Same thing as those people who follow the Christ or they don't follow the Christ or they or they can decide whether they follow the Christ or not or whatever. It's all individual issues, and I don't think that anything can be convincingly proved one way or another that if you follow the Christ, you should be against pornography. If you don't, then you are for pornography or so on. There is no correlation, there is no connection in all that. It's all very individual things, and I don't think that whether church or other like Muslim church or I don't know what else is a Jewish church or anybody else should really mess into it. Just do your job and good luck. Now about Ukraine. Ukraine is same as the West and the United States are extremely lucky to be at the power in Russia. Such an idiot and stupid man as Putin. I can, with all authorization, say that this is a very stupid. He's more stupid than evil, by the way, although he is a very evil man. But his stupidity is just endless. He had, for 20 years, he had a relatively prosperous country, society, so far from being perfect by any even possibly idea of imagination. He threw that all in a war where he cannot win. He just doesn't have enough strength. His army is pathetic, and this is great for NATO and the United States that Ukrainians were able to expose all the weakness of the Russian army, all the stupidity of their generals, how pathetic they are. And if US wanted to, Ukraine could win this war many months ago. For some reason, US has some other objectives in this war. They want to just go on for some period of time to weaken Russia even further. So for that, war with Ukraine is a perfect way to weaken Russia tremendously. And so for the next 100 years, Russia will not be able to do anything even close to what they've done in Ukraine. And also the big benefactors of that are all countries of NATO, all countries of Eastern Europe, and all the West, including the United States. So this is absolutely great development, what's happened in Ukraine for United States, NATO, and the West. The only drawback is that Ukrainians are single-handedly taking all the wrath of the Russians. They are losing tremendous amount of its citizens. And on the other hand, it's an extremely interesting situation that Ukrainian population don't want even to explore any peace talks or negotiations or so on. They're ready, 97% of Ukrainians, they're ready rather to die than to have any peace with Russians, which would include giving up their part of their territories. So the war will go on. I believe that Biden will provide all necessary tools for Ukrainian victory, but not earlier than probably spring of next year. So Ukraine will have tremendous victory right before the election, and that would help Biden to win this election. I think that's a game plan of Biden and United States, and therefore NATO, because it's almost equal what's U.S. and NATO. It's there is no much difference.
I actually I missed the initial. First off, Sasha, great update on Ukraine. I don't really have much to say about that because I was focused on the other two questions. I apologize, or the other two guests. I apologize because I did have an interesting comment because dealing with a pornography issue and comedy, and it's trying to stay on the light note, on the happy note. I mean, we're talking about two funny things: porn and comedy, jokes and
I think Nick was making what would be called Nick was making what I think would be called a straw man argument, where
not really.
One thing is not related is so important that we can't talk about this. Yeah. So if the Ukraine is so important, then why talk about comedy?
No, I think
that doesn't go together. So we can't talk about anything of this because one other thing over here is so important.
So I think one way that, the way that I kind of saw that he was trying to tie them together, which actually kind of is not too much of a straw man, but one thing it is that why. So is the Healing Church so against porn that if somebody watches porn, they are a deviant? Is more so the question, I think, for example, because you have all these other things that fall in that line. Is it, because I guess I missed the first part where the initial intro about why the Healing Church is so against porn. So I'm trying to catch up, I guess.
All right.
And along the same line,
I'm sitting here wondering if I tuned into the right show. I thought we were talking about comedy today. I recognize Mark, so I think I'm in the right living room here. But
you're in the right living room. Yeah, you're in the right living room.
Jokes are coming because my pants are already off, and we're talking about porn. So,
how did I get here? This is so weird. I thought we were talking about comedy, but
News show, we talk about all kinds of stuff, and it does float all over, but the improv will be flowing, I'm sure, about that and all. And I'm actually going to set up as part of that in this particular question, because I know that one of the things folks, Sam, will say is that they will be looking at the different things, and they'll be like, how come, and it's kind of what Nick was saying, how am I bothering anybody? And some people will say that it is also something that is a aid in their life, whether they are married or whether they are single, and all in that space. So what is your answer to those folks that are like, this has been around for centuries, even before Jesus was around. Probably there were probably people that were doing things that would be considered pornography. I'm thinking that some of those hieroglyphics might be considered porn. I don't know what Sherry and Jacoby think, but if you look at some of those pictures, they can be quite pornographic in nature and all in that space. So it's been around for a while. So what is your answer? And this is me, like I said earlier, playing the devil's advocate to those that are like, I'm not harming anybody. I'm over here helping either my marriage if I am married, or I'm helping myself if I'm in that single space, and all in that lines until we actually get together and all in that space. So Sam, what's your answer? And I'm sure that there's a comic rebuff from both Cherie and Jacoby.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for us to ask the first question is, do I feel that pornography is harming me and my relationships? That's where you should start. If it is causing problems in your, whether you feel like in your spiritual life, your work life, your family life, and you want to address it, but you can't seem to address it because, hey, we're simply talking about a decision, right? Say yes or say no. And so, for instance, if we're saying, hey, you know, this Jesus person I follow. Now, I think most of our guests or folks on here today don't follow Christ. Okay. But if I'm a Christ follower and I'm struggling with something that I say that I don't want to do, but I keep doing it, maybe I'm asking for some help. Because what I've begun to do is use pornography in an unhealthy way. And that is that I'm actually regulating my moods, anesthetizing my emotions. That's how I deal with life. If I get yelled at work or something happens, or if I have an argument, then I use something in my life, whether it's food or alcohol or it's other. I can't sit in my emotions. I can't name my emotions. I can't live without regulating to something that's, you know, how can I do something positive in my life? Let's take, for instance, that in 56% of divorce cases today, a major contributing factor, according to secular attorneys, say that the ongoing compulsive use of pornography in the relationship is one of the major issues in the divorce. So I'm not saying people who use pornography should get divorced. That's not my point. Is that somehow it's causing some pain or struggle within the relationship. And if it is, then it should be a simple choice and decision. Say, hey, you know, I love you. I don't love this. And we can turn that off. But if you're having trouble with that, then there maybe is something deeper going on. And let's face it, we can look at this from a secular perspective. We can leave Jesus out of it if we want to. And Time magazine on its front cover in 2016 said, a generation of men raised on pornography are becoming advocates for turning it off because it was impacting different parts of their life that they didn't feel good about. And if someone doesn't feel good about it, then why not allow them to have some support and help in finding freedom from it? If you look at Dr. Robert Weiss, he's an atheist, gay man who is supporting and has written a number of books on the addictive nature of pornography. And you say, oh, well, pornography is never addictive. Well, that's just not true. It's not, you know, there can be compulsive behaviors with any number of things, whether it's pornography or food or other habits that you really don't want in your life. So, Cherie, I bet there's a way we can be more positive in every part of our life. And if we have things that are negative in our life and we begin to seek out healthy behaviors that we feel good about.
Okay, but wait a second.
We can laugh.
I mean, I didn't even know we were going to go there with this, but I have a few things to say. And
Right.
One of which is, it's nobody's business. Who cares? I mean, so long as you're not harming or hurting somebody, why do people have to vote whether or not pornography is tied to Christ or not tied to Christ? I went to Catholic school, and I believe what Madonna believes, and she went to Catholic school too. All paths lead to God. So when you start to get very insular and it's only one religion is right or one path is right, that really bothers me. Just like, you know, anybody who is totally anti-abortion, it's nobody's business. Just let everybody live the way they want to live and live their truth and find their way in this world. So I don't know what the big argument is about pornography. It's not my thing, but maybe it is for a lot of other people. And I am not here, and Christ would say this because I studied his work. We're not here to judge others. We're here to support others. And the one thing he didn't like, he was really down on, was hypocrisy.
Yeah.
People who, I mean, we're talking about church now. People who go to church and then go home and cheat on their wives. And also, Sam,
That's
by
a
the
bad
way,
thing, isn't it?
I represent a lot of, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right either. But you're talking about divorce, and I work for a lot of divorce attorneys. I have for many years. 56%, it's not pornography. The biggest reason people get a divorce is financial reasons. It's not adultery either, as most people would think. So
It was
I'm
a
not so sure that's
contributing
right.
factor.
I just wanna
That's what
say,
they
'cause
listed as a contributing factor.
I'm
Also,
sure
you
it's a
can-
Go
contributing
ahead.
factor, but the way you couched it was like
Yeah.
56% of divorces are because of
A-
some kind of pornography. Maybe I misheard
It was
that.
it was a contributing factor. That's what the attorney said. I don't know
Okay,
what
but
they
it's
said.
a
Also,
way
Contributing
down
factor.
on the-
Now let me go back
way
to the
down on the
Jesus
list.
thing.
Sam,
For the
really-
cause of divorce, that is not the
Go ahead.
yeah,
major.
Sam, one of the
reason
things
for
that you
divorce. Anyway,
also
if we
No,
want
I'm
to talk
just-
comedy, I'm ready to talk about it, but I just wanted to give my
Yeah.
opinion because we're sitting here
Sure.
deciding, I guess, whether pornography is right or wrong and who can do it and who shouldn't, and where that puts them in the world of the spiritual view. And I just want to say, I don't think it's any of my business if anybody does pornography, unless it's in such a manner that it's hurting another human being. Leave
Sherry, a
it-
quick
let them
question
say
to you.
what they want to do.
I
Hold on a
think
second.
that's where Nick was trying to
I
go
would
to
like
with
to
his
ask
comment.
Sherry one question. Are bad jokes could be contributing factor to divorce?
Bad jokes?
Yep.
Are they? I think so. I mean,
Or generally, or even
married to
better,
Henny Youngman,
a lot
Rodney
of humor.
Dangerfield.
What about
Pardon?
lot of humor?
Andrew Dice Clay.
I
Let's
think
say
where he's
one-
going is, hold on a second. I think where Sasha is going is the lack of laughter, because I know one of the contributing factors that oftentimes is talked about even in divorce is communication. And to me, part of what we need in
Yes.
communication is
And
some good
that's-
laughter and some good jokes and things of that land. So I
Absolutely.
think that's where Sasha was going. Is that a contributing factor?
Yes.
could be-
I think here's what I know to be true. And again, I don't say this arrogantly. I say it because I've studied it and I've taught it and I've written about it so much. Communication, Mark, you're absolutely right, is the key thing. But people who've been married for many years will tell you one of the reasons they were able to stay married is because they could laugh with each other. They could laugh at their arguments. They had a great sense of
100%
humor. And I don't think you can live in a healthy way unless you have those balancing factors that we were talking about, a bit ago. And humor is except for love, there's nothing more bonding than humor. I don't care who you are or where you are. You could put a Laurel and Hardy movie in front of anybody in the world and it's silent, and everybody's probably going to laugh. It's very universal. So I think it's a super healthy way to go. And I also think people who don't have a sense of humor, those are the people who end up as alcoholics or sex addicts or the other issues that they have. They don't have balance. I mean, that's my own personal belief, but I don't mean to impose that on any of you. I'm just saying, I thought we were talking comedy, but if we're going to talk
No, we're
pornography
just,
or
yeah,
let's
news, we
watch
talk about a lot of
trains.
different things and everything along
let's
those
watch
lines.
trains, planes, and automobiles. Let's talk about that movie.
We talk about a lot of things, and we might even get to the Oppenheimer in part because I'm curious to see what folks got to think about that as well. But Sam, just really quickly, because we do have several more minutes to go and everything. One of the things that I know that has been going on in society is a number of people have been looking at the church and its eroding membership. I guess that's the only way I can put it, with the youth. And part of that is that they're kind of like Cherie and everything. They are like, let me be me, let me do me, and they'll stay out of my business and let me hear the message, but don't make judgments about the message. And I think that's why a lot of the youth have run away from the church. So it looks like he's got some thoughts around what I'm saying, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, because there are a number I want to say the youth membership has been eroding for several years, and we've definitely been seeing a lot of the churches that are older congregations, and they're always constantly trying to find ways to get the youth involved. And some of that is going into metaverse and other things that are more modern and all in that space. And some of that can be very central. I'll just put it that way. I don't know that it's going to be all the way pornographic, but it might be central. So what is your argument to the youth? Because some of them might be like, hey, I'm doing me instead of my life and everything, but I will hear the message.
That's interesting. I don't know if I have a what specifically I can see. I think that's a complex issue on a number of fronts, and I don't think it has specifically to do with what you're saying. Well, maybe let's go back to, I guess, the part of it's let me live my life. I want to hear the message, but I don't want you to tell me what to do. And that's okay. I think that's a fair assessment. Let's talk about that. And I think it simply comes down to a couple of simple things within the church. Is the church going to, regardless of, and let's keep in mind that we've talked about the Catholic Church, we've talked about Mormons, the church, Latter-day Saints, we've talked about some other churches, etc. So there's a broad sphere here, and it'd be hard to paint one picture for everybody, right? But most of churches, whether it's the Catholic Church or the vast majority of non-Catholic churches in America and around the world, would say, hey, we have some basic tenets. One of those tenets is the 10 Commandments, one of which is do not commit adultery. And then we listen to what Jesus said in Matthew 5:27-28. It says, you have heard that it's said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you, that everyone who looks on another with lust has already committed adultery in their heart. So that's the reason is if you're not attending church, or if you don't say, hey, I want to follow Christ, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you are following Christ, maybe that has some importance to you as an individual. If you say, hey, I want to live up to everything that I believe Christ wants in my life as a Christian, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be things. So, hey, what if I had some help in the local church to someone where I could be open and honest with about every struggle I have in my life? And whether it's more important than other things is really irrelevant. It's just one thing of many things in my life that I want to really just live more whole. If pornography is just one issue, okay, it's just one issue. But don't we just want to live in greater wholeness in our lives? And I think that's where I'm coming at.
Here's my arguments, Counselor. There's some great books out.
Well, Jacoby, I was going to set you up and everything. I think Nick's getting ready to jump as well. But there are some people, there's a very popular movie that is out right now. And some people would say that folks that are watching that movie are participating in what Sam is saying, because there are some folks that are literally going to see Barbie because they want to see that Barbie image and all in that space. So what is your thoughts around that? Because to me, there are some people that can argue that if you're watching certain TV shows.
You're watching Barbie. I just want to see her shoes. What kind of shoes is she wearing? I mean, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, well, they're obsessed and they're addicted. But I'm saying the church should be in positive issues. There's a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. It's a great book. And this is the area that I think churches should be involved in, power of positive thinking, which is, a good, really a very positive inspiration.
That's a pretty old book.
And win friends and influence people. I'm bad at that, but I do need to learn that stuff. How to win. Right. A great book. Pornography, murder, transgender. I think the church should just stay away from all those issues because they're dark issues that aren't really uplifting, to be honest with you. Where if The Power of Positive Thinking, I think is a really great book and should be taught.
I'm going to try and tie a lot of stuff together real quick because since Nick, you said dark, I'm going to jump in, because I'm the darkest one here. And then we're going to talk about, since we have now hit the 50-minute mark riding the church, we're going to try and move on since, dealing in porn, that's a long video. And you're going to get tired of whacking at 50 minutes in time. So let's jump into this time because I really wanted to get there the whole time because tying Jesus to comedy. Well, Mel Brooks just put out The History of the World a few weeks back. And Cherie, do you have any Mel Brooks stories? Because I love Mel Brooks to death, and I know you worked with a ton of people.
You know, that's not anyone I've ever met, but I really admire his work. Blazing Saddles was unbelievable. I mean, we could never watch it today, unfortunately, because everybody's so uptight about so many things. But I just thought his work was brilliant. You know, he didn't hold back. He hasn't held back. He really takes a jab at people's foibles and the world that we live in. And there's something very healthy about that kind of a release. And it's non-judgmental. And it's like, hey, let's just make fun of everything that is. And if you don't want to laugh at it, you don't have to, but it'll resonate with a lot of you. And I think his work has really been brilliant in that way. And the other thing about Mel Brooks, and I have a lot of my students study his work, he's evergreen. You know, he's been through, I don't know how many decades of doing the work he does, but it's always evolving. And it's always addressing core issues, that the maladies that the world faces. And I think he's brilliant in that he's not just a one slot, one time, one decade kind of comic. He keeps changing with the times that we're in. And I really admire his work.
And Cherie, keep it related. Yeah.
And I do think, I just want to say this to Sam. Sam, I do think Jesus had a fabulous sense of humor. I believe he did. You know why? Because he made me and Jatovi and other people who propagate that gospel, the world according to humor.
Jesus had an amazing sense of humor. If you think about some things he did hyperbole extraordinarily well, right? Like we read some things in New Testament, we don't go, we take that so literally, but Jesus was very good at that. He would say, like, if you are judging someone else, like you were talking about Cherie, you need to look, and you're talking about the splinter in their eye, you need to take a look at the log in your eye, right? Mm-hmm. Because
absolutely,
he was over the top with those kinds of things, right? And so,
he's very over the top. He said, "Oh, you want a piece of fish and a piece of bread?
Drew people
Watch this." And then he did that whole, magic trick with
water in the wine.
And and it just, I mean, I don't know. And I hope I don't sound judgmental to any of you, because I'm not coming from that place. I have nothing but love for humanity, and I just get upset when I think some people are super narrow in their opinions about things, when I think what Jesus and all the other masters wanted us to know was, how do we adjust to each other? How do we love each other, care for each other, for humanity? I really think that's the lesson. And I say that after living for a lot of years and being exposed to a lot of different religious things or ideas. And I still think at the end of the day, I go to church every Sunday, but it's at my theater where we do comedy. And there's something very spiritual about that.
So,
Cherie, along those same lines, just really quickly,
quickly, Mark, I got this. I got to get this one out. This is a good one. This is good. This is gonna tie everybody together for you. So, is it possible that the Tower of Babel, when everybody changed to different dialects, different tongues, and everything else, was that really a challenge on us to learn how to navigate each other and come back together?
Maybe so, Jatovi, but I thought the Tower of Babel was like in competition with the Ritz-Carlton. I thought it was a hotel, with a lot of stories. Like
as long as it had that golden toilet. See, that's what I needed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that is the lesson there. Yeah, and if I'll tell you what, and I'll just share this. I love to listen to Eckhart Tolle, and I don't know if any of you know his work. It's really magnificent, I think. And he talks a lot about what Jesus meant in different things he has said. And it's really interesting to hear his interpretation. And I think everyone has a different interpretation of how they read certain passages out of the Bible. I don't think it's exactly one single thing. But I just have to believe that God had a tremendous sense of humor.
No doubt about that. But there was this whole thing that used to be out there regularly, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about this. But I remember a bumper sticker that used to exist. It was WWJD, which is what would Jesus do, and all in that space. So if we are thinking about modern times, we're on the World Edition, and y'all can definitely take some comic cracks. What would Jesus be doing about the world that we live in now and everything if he was to make a return trip? Everybody's worried about everything.
Oh, Mark dropped off. What would
I'd like to.
He just struck him dead is what happened.
Yeah, he did.
I'd like to
He's just
mention.
gone.
Jesus didn't like
Mark
that
is now
question.
gone. Jesus
Yeah.
said, "Oh, you want some humor? Watch this."
Yeah, Jesus didn't like
And
that
Mark
question. He ain't-
disappeared.
Oh, there goes Sasha too. Wow.
Oh my God!
Everybody
Who's
dropping like
next?
flies. I'm a little worried
I-
now.
It's
I
going
was
to
gonna
just
make
be
a
me and
TikTok
Sam arguing about religion and pornography. I thought I was
See?
here talking about comedy. I don't know.
But isn't it good that we can come and talk
Yes,
and
yes.
we have different views, but that's
And
okay.
I
We
will
can
tell
have
you
different
this, Sam,
views.
I want to commend you and compliment you for taking on an issue to help your fellow man, whoever that might be. I really admire you for that. That's very brave and it's courageous, and it's all part of God's work.
Thank you, Sherry. I really
Cherie.
appreciate that, Cherie. I wanted to correct myself as soon as I said it. No, it came out. Cherie, thank you for
Happens
that.
all day, every day.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, helping everybody is what it's all about. Navigating and trying to figure.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to find their peace some way. Some find it in comedy, some find it in religion, some find it in porn. Some actually have. But it's not about judging each other. It's about working together to make a better place.
Right. I absolutely agree. And this morning being with everyone has been just another wonderful experience to see different points of view. And oh, Mark is back. I think he went to confession. He actually went to confession, and then now he's back. What's your penance, Mark? What are you doing? Time for
Well, I had to go to confession. I had to do all of that. It was very
Yeah.
difficult. And, the priest was definitely sitting there giving me a hard time. He was saying all the things that I've done wrong in society. And then he said,
I wouldn't use that, Mark, I wouldn't use that phrase, hard time.
We were talking about porn earlier, so hey.
Oh, that's what I mean. I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
it's just me.
maybe a bad phrase to use and everything. But yes, I should not have said it was a hard time that he was giving me and all along those lines. I probably should not have said that. He was also saying and asking me about, unity, because I know that sometimes comedy will crack jokes and sometimes they will target people in the room. And sometimes comics get a hard time for that. So since we're giving the fine gentleman Sam a hard time, I was wondering from you and Jacoby, what is your thoughts when people are like, tag on those comics, they keep attacking me every time I come in the room and everything. They're giving me a hard time and they just start targeting me because my hair is green. And it's not green today, but maybe it'll be green tomorrow.
So,
Cherie, did you
Sam?
want to take that one or
Oh,
Sam?
I just was telling, while you were in the confessional, I was telling Sam that I really admired him for trying to bring healing and help to people who need it through his work. I think it's wonderful. And we all have different points of view, and maybe that's what makes this world keep spinning. But I think anytime, here's something, a fact, and it's in one of my books. When you make somebody laugh, you can be in the middle of a huge argument. My youngest son is probably the funniest person I've ever known. And he makes me so angry, but he can say one thing that's funny and it completely breaks the tension, changes your perspective, equalizes the room, changes the chemistry with everyone altogether. So humor is the religion. Humor is a healing component. And I hope everybody fills their day with a certain amount of humor because it's so healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my message.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry it
And
wasn't
to tie
funny.
in that, I guess to answer your question, Mark, there's a fine line between picking at somebody and involving them in the joke and in the humor and doing exactly what Cherie is talking about.
We have a rule at the Crazies, and we used to have it at the Groundlings as well. We never make fun, and we're never malicious or hurtful to anyone in the audience. A joke is always on us, because that way we know we won't offend or embarrass or hurt anyone. So we have a very strict rule about that at our theater. We can be as funny and we can swear. I love to swear. Nobody loves profanity more than I do. But you cannot hurt someone in the audience or make them feel less than or embarrassed or humiliated. I think comics who do that ultimately crash.
No, I definitely agree
There's
with you
a
on
whole-
that. One of my
Whole list
best
of them.
sense of
They're just not well liked. Andrew Dice Clay, I mean, that's a character he played. He'll even tell you that. That's not that. I don't think that feels good to a lot of people. Even if you're in the audience and you're not the person being picked on, the people around you are going to hurt for you, because at the end of the day, we're all one. We all part of the collective unconscious kind of thing.
along the same
So I
lines
say
that we might.
don't hurt somebody's feelings and don't make them feel bad. Put the joke on yourself.
No, and along those same lines, I know we're winding down, but we can go over maybe a few minutes and everything.
I
but
have to go. I've got a hard stop for a meeting that I have to be in. But thank
Watch
you.
Sam,
that
just
word,
really
Sam.
quickly.
He's got a
Yeah,
hard
you-
stop.
you said
Everybody's
hard
got
stop
a
again.
hard day today. I'm just saying, Jacoby. Are you with me?
Fighting against
I'm
pornography,
loving
and he's
the
having a
hard
hard stop. I'm not really getting it.
I still got my pants off, so everything's great.
Sam, if you could tell folks how they can reach you and everything, and definitely more about ways that they can reach you. And like I said to many of the guests, I hope that you will make a return trip at some point or another. But definitely, if you can tell folks how they can reach you and learn more about what you are fighting against and all along those lines.
Maybe it's more what I'm fighting for, and that's a little hope and healing. And you can learn more about the book at thehealingchurch.com. Thehealingchurch.com. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye,
All right.
Sam.
And Cherie, really quickly, I'm going to ask you that same question, but I was going to tell you a quick story. That's why I said we could go over a few minutes and everything. But my brother was actually, he's been married a couple of times, but when he was actually going with a friend's engagement, they actually came to another friend's comedy club in Durham. And of course, they were wearing tuxedos. So, that they became the target for the jokes and everything,
Right.
because there was a bunch of penguin jokes that the comedian was telling, and all along those lines, because they were wearing their tuxedos. What they did not know, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, is that sometimes when you do that, you might run into a game of the dozens. And for those that don't know about the dozens, it's kind of like a back and forth game that folks do regularly in the hood and all in that, where they are targeting each other. So I don't think that this particular comic knew that he was going to be getting into a game of the dozens with my brother's friends. And I would actually argue that they held their own, even though it was a professional comic that they were going against, and all in that space. So I just wanted your thoughts around that. And then if you could share a little bit more about how you
That's always a risk you take, because when you start to play with someone in the audience, you just hope that they're not going to turn on you, or they're going to one-upsman you.
Right.
So you have to really be careful, how you play with them, so that that it becomes a positive thing back and forth, and it doesn't de-escalate. Like, who am I thinking of, Jacoby? Michael, the guy in Seinfeld. Why can't I think of his last name?
Who ended up yelling out the N-word.
Yeah, and he got into a big one of those things with the
Yep.
audience, with some guys in the audience, and it ruined his career. So you
Yeah,
have
it
to, why can't, what's his last name? I'm going to think of it when we hang up. I'm going
Is
to
it-
be mad that I didn't think of it right
Is it,
now.
no, it's not Eisner.
Michael, isn't it Michael something?
Yeah, because he played Kramer.
Yes. I
We're
think
on
it's
the internet. Why don't I look it up? That'd be easier.
Yeah, just look it up.
when you can get everybody with you on that page. But I think you have to be really careful that you're sensitive and you don't say something to someone that will make them feel less than or embarrass them. I mean, the fact that they were wearing tuxedos and everybody else maybe was dressed very differently is kind of a fun thing to do. But some people get really sensitive, and you have to, and if it has anything to do with religion or politics or race or gender, any of those things, you better skate carefully, because today you have to be very careful in any jabs that you make, because everyone is overly sensitive, which I think is too bad. I wish we could laugh a little more. And that's why I love doing satire, because we get away with. In fact, Toby, you'll love this. We did a sketch once where somebody was auditioning to be in a stand-up comedy show. So there was a couple judges there, and then the character, this gal who was playing the character, wanted to be a stand-up, and she was doing her humor, and there was no profanity, there was nothing in it. And then she said, and I'm not going to say the N-word. And she was African American. And they said, no, you can't say that. And she said, no, I said I wasn't going to say the N-word. And they said, no, you can't say the phrase the N-word. That's off the table too. And it was really funny. It was very well received. I made a big joke, satirical joke about, you can't even say that phrase, the N-word. That's off limits too. Or you're being racist, or you're being whatever.
Yeah.
And we thought it was really fun. And we actually did that, I want to say, maybe 17 years ago.
Really?
Usually ahead of a lot of what's going on culturally. And I'd love to make jokes about things like that, because I think we all need to feel that, yeah, we're kind of nervous the same way, and now we can laugh about it instead of making everything such a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think you touched on
that.
every
Go ahead,
piece
jump in.
that like I said, for me, jumping on stage or even talking, or even the speaking functions that I have, being very cognizant of particular things that are out there, or particular
Right.
For example, yesterday I was in the middle of doing a speaking I had to help out the Durham Bulls, and we were doing a speaking function, and there was a gentleman named Brandon, legitimate name Brandon. And we know the actual, in our society today, the whole problem with that name in society today, yelling it out on the microphone because of the way that people feel politically. So being able to handle that situation, but including him so he's not left out, even though utilizing his name. Mark, just to help you clear up the understanding of the whole Go Brandon thing.
Yeah.
That is, I hope you know that's where it came from, a race car track, and then the announcer saying they were
I'm very
yelling.
I'm familiar with that and everything, but I was actually thinking that there are probably some people that are afraid that they will be used as jokes if they come in the room because their name is Karen, because we do know that there are a bunch of Karen things out there as well.
But being cognizant of those things, as well as how you say those things out in a large room, especially performing in front of people, is very important, because if you say it a wrong way, people, one, will be offended, will be upset. Either, oh, you're picking at me because that's my name. You're picking at my politics because that's what you believe about my politics. Oh, you're championing somebody else's politics by utilizing it. So it's just being cognizant and trying to figure out that navigation,
and it's something,
and including people and making sure that, hey, this isn't what's going on. We're being overly sensitive of how that's being used. So we've got to make sure to include. So yeah, it's.
I think, there's a lot of comics, and you probably know this, Jatovy, I don't know if you do, Mark, that will not play the college circuit anymore because they're so uptight, or they're so extremist, in certain beliefs, and they're just afraid to go there because they feel like they can't be freewheeling. Like Bill Maher, for instance, there's a lot of venues he won't play anymore, or currently, because he's afraid of what he might say would cause a big brouhaha, and he doesn't want that in his orb. And I know, just watching comedy and doing it for so many years, it changes generationally and every decade.
Okay.
So wait a minute. So you mean
I want to talk to that guy.
Yeah, we got to talk to the young guy and everything. He's the star of the show. Bennett.
Camp out on the side playing on his iPad right now.
There you go.
Hey there.
Write some comedy.
Oh, he does that all the time. He does that all the time.
Isn't he like an inspiration for half of your comedy, Jatovy? I'm thinking that he and your daughter are half the inspirations that you get for your jokes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know all three of my kids have an incredible sense of humor. And so if that's all I gave them, I think that's probably enough. I mean, we had a saying in our house, if Stofers didn't make it, we've never had it, So I didn't cook a lot for them, but I did try to bring home the humor.
And
for
you
them.
definitely did a great job of that. And it sounds like a lot of your kids are involved in the entertainment field in one form or fashion. So you definitely
Yeah,
gave them
well,
that sense and
well,
everything along those lines. Because I do remember that from our previous conversations that they have followed in their mom's footstep. I don't know if their dad was involved in the entertainment space, but it definitely seems like they have followed in your footsteps. I want to say one of them was involved in sports, if I remember correctly, as well. But definitely, I know they were involved a lot in the entertainment side of stuff.
Yeah, the youngest one he's a filmmaker. And he mostly does dramas, which is ironic to me because, as I said, he's hilariously funny. But I think I really wish we could go back to a more relaxed way of being able to share our humor without being so afraid of saying the wrong thing. I know I'm really afraid of that. And I would never want to say something comedically that I thought would make somebody feel less than, or
Right.
say the wrong thing and not be appropriate. But it's scary. You know, I have to just be very narrow now to make sure I don't do the wrong thing.
You
How
now
about
have the
you?
crowd
Did you find
starting
that on stage?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's because, for example, with Cardi B, who just threw her microphone at a guy because that dude threw water at her. There are other comedians who've, been heckled to the point of just closing their show because people attack them on stage, because they get offended over, something that they kind of overanalyze what you said to take offense to it. So
I think the world is in our country anyway is sort of setting it up for everybody to be just trigger hair ready to pounce on each other for everything. I mean, there's so much tension, and it's so sad that anything you do or say could be misconstrued, as you say, as some kind of put down or some kind of negative comment, when I don't think most people mean a lot of that way. And what's with going to concerts and hitting Dua Lipa in the face and giving her a black eye? That's crazy time. You don't do that.
And it's just, I think people are so, just like you're saying, people are so
They're
wound
pent
up.
Yeah.
Just that tension is there. And we've lost that empathy, that communication. We've gone away from nuance. If you try anything nuanced, hey, if it's not a bumper sticker, you're lying to me. You're not. I don't need all that information.
But Jacoby, speaking of nuance, isn't one of the biggest things that is out there right now a word that we all deal with on a regular basis, but it had been taken totally out of context and all in that space? Because I'm sorry, every night, hopefully, even though it was late last night, I try to get something called sleep. And after you get sleep, then hopefully if you are lucky and you make it to the next day, you are going to wake up. But there's this whole notion of woke, and that is one of those nuance words that I think has been totally taken out of context. Because I'm going like, don't you want to be alert? Don't you want to be alert of what's going on? But now it's a whole term that's about cultural cancellation and all of that. And I don't know how you can really cancel a culture.
Even woke itself, truthfully, isn't nuanced. Woke, when it was the full the definition of woke, being alert of things going on, that's not nuanced. That's just straightforward. That's exactly what the word is.
Right.
What people are doing they're adding in extra context to fit their narrative, to make people upset.
They're redefining. Redefining certain words to mean something entirely different. And then people again, the tension is so great. There's got to be some kind of release pretty soon with the world for everyone to be able to get comfortable, relatively comfortable.
I thought the release was
the more we have that, the more humor we need to equalize everything.
No, I thought the release was going to be for us all three of us, and we'll go get the folks who were on the show earlier to go and get a Budweiser, preferably Budweiser that's got Dylan Mulvaney's picture on it and all along those lines. I thought that was the relief.
You can't say that either. I mean, I'm so afraid of saying anything because I'm afraid I will offend, and I don't mean to do that. But yeah, I think the world that we're living in right now has put so much emphasis on emphasizing, and maybe that's the problem.
honestly, that right there is perfect. Emphasis on emphasizing.
Mhm.
That's exactly it. I mean, and just on a funny note, we talking about porn. We used hard a lot, and now we're using release. Think about that.
I think we covered it all. I mean,
Yeah.
don't. I mean,
And now
Sam
we
can't go
covered
around
it
saying,
all.
"Hey, they dissed me. They were not even talking about what I was talking about." I was terms are running through my head the whole time, and I'm saying to myself, "Don't say that. Don't say that, Cherie. Just sit there and behave yourself."
Jokes.
Go
And
there.
we're talking about offending people. I had so many bad jokes.
We want to hear them. Go for the bad jokes. We love bad
So
jokes.
bad. Oh,
It's like the Aristocrats. Did you guys ever see that? I mean, it's really part of it's kind of offensive to me because I'm not into anything scatological or anything that's too blue. But there was an HBO special called The Aristocrats, and the comics were trying to outdo each other with the worst, graphic, grossest things they could do and say. And they would tell those jokes. Did you ever see that? You guys should look it up, but you might enjoy it. I don't know. Some of it
saw that.
wasn't comfortable for me, but a lot of it was hilarious. The whole idea that they were just trying to outgross each other.
But
That was the
you know,
whole joke.
I'm a fan of bad jokes too, and that's the problem.
but Jacoby,
No,
one of
it's
the
not. If that's
but
your
one-
brand, Jacoby, it's fine. Enjoy
but one of
it
the
for
worst
God's
jokes,
sake.
Jacoby, one of the worst jokes is a trope that's out there as well, and it was actually used quite effectively on a TV show that I enjoy, and I can't remember whether it was NCIS or CSI. It's one of those and everything. I think it was NCIS New Orleans, but there were two characters, and they literally played off of the whole notion of the city mouse and the country mouse, because that was the running joke that was involved in the storyline. So it was a lot of investigation stuff, but then they would tell little jokes back and forth about the city mouse and the country mouse, because one of them, of course, was more urban and the other was more rural. And of course, in the end, to the pornography statement, they actually wound up falling somewhat in love, even though they never really got together in the end and all in that space. But it was definitely still that city mouse, country mouse kind of thing. And I know a lot of folks have that urban rural divide as well. So what are your thoughts about that? Because I know that some folks will sit there and think that if you're from the country, you're a little bit on the hillbilly side. And if you're from the city, you're a little bit on the slickster side. And there may be some truth to the stereotypes, because there are usually truth to the stereotypes, but it's only just narrow truth.
I know, but whatever the truths are, I just wish that we could always, that our mind would venture a little to the laughable side, so that we can laugh more about these things instead of everybody being so angry and so mad. You know, I think, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it because I don't care. I really hope that Trump will just fade away. That the anger and the angst that he has created is just, it's so cultish and it's so wrong. And I think that's a lot of it. I just think the whole world is kind of in that same headspace. And I think that's too bad.
Well, we
So
need him
More goodness, that dude is hateful.
Well, I'll try to get one of the crazies to come on. He does an impersonation of Trump, and he's really funny. The movie that's out right now, The Show Can't Go On, he does Trump in that film. So you might be able to take a look at him there. But his name is Matt, and if you want, I'll get him on the show for you one day.
Yeah, I love that. And definitely, that would be hilarious. And maybe
hands.
maybe he does an impersonation of Putin as well, because that's another one that's out there a little bit
I
on
have
the crazy side.
one of the actors. Maybe I can get all three of them to come on. We do a book panel and then get this subject from the audience. One guy plays Clinton to a T, another guy plays Putin, and another guy plays Trump. So if I can get all three of the actors together for you, I don't know if I can do it at this hour, but I would maybe try one of the other things you're doing. I think I can get all three of them for you. They're
Let's
really
figure out a time, because I would like to be the black pastor and ask them questions.
Why don't you play Al Sharpton? How about if you play Al Sharpton? And you can...
It's on. It is on.
Al Sharpton interviewing them in all those spaces. We'll have Al Sharpton interview Putin, Clinton, and Trump. That would be amazing. And I think that Toby can definitely pull it off and all along those lines. I can see it already and all in that space. But, we're talking about the difference in views and how comedy can work and everything. And I know that there is an elderly population as well. So just really curious. are we going to have like a 90-year-old president or a 100-year-old president? So it seems like we're heading in that direction. Or can we get like somebody that's Jatovi's age? I'm rooting for Jatovi to be president. I've already declared one of our other guys, Jeff Ahern, who's very conservative Republican, to run for the presidency. So I need Jatovi to be our fourth Democrat candidate. So we're going to have Jeff Ahern running for the Republican side.
I'm all over that. Give me a yard sign and a bumper sticker. And I'm there. No, I agree.
Maybe.
I mean, he is a little old, but here's how I look at it, trying to have a sense of humor. He has so much experience. And right now, I think experience is a big deal. I honestly do, because he knows how to get people to chill. He knows how to work the room, so to speak. And he has really done some good stuff. I don't care what people say about him. They have to find something wrong with him. But at the end of the day, I'm listening to Professor Alan Lichtman. Did you guys check him out? Yeah, he's amazing, and he's never been wrong except for that one time with Gore and Bush.
But yeah,
But I still think Gore won.
Yeah, Biden is fine. It's just as
just
I
old.
told you on many other shows, Mark,
Mhm.
that megaphone that they use to make up anything and everything, and then people believe it.
Yeah,
That bumper
see,
sticker.
that's what I find hard, you guys, is to watch somebody's behavior like that of Trump, just the way he talks to people, his tone of voice and whatever. And I think, do you really want your kids to grow up and be like that? Is that a good role model? I mean, what are people thinking?
It's always
I'm still stupefied that
Jatovi, hold on a
didn't
hold on a
impeach him.
second. She just used the word again, so it's becoming like our running theme because she just said hard again. So I think that we've got this whole hard thing going again. So she just said the word again.
See, now, thanks, Sam. You know, now I'm going to have to go to his church in order to get well.
Yeah, see.
I mean, Mark went to confession in the middle of the show. All right. At least he's got a head start on us, Jatovi.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. But you know, I mean, he may be back in 3 days, and he can help us out. We'll see. But he.
Well, going to church is a whole different thing now for him.
Yeah, I don't get how people just believe Trump so much. I don't get that. I don't understand that.
I know. I don't either. But you know what? I was talking to my daughter about this the other day, and her husband travels around the country. I think I mentioned to Jatovi that Keith is the trainer for the Colorado Rockies team. I probably shouldn't even say his name, but he was telling me how he hears all kinds of points of view and listens to people as they talk. And he said, people just, they really believe a lot of what is said, which is hard, I think, for many of us who are in more city atmospheres, kind of thing, more progressive environments, I guess I would say. I just don't understand how they could even watch his behavior. And the irony for me is so many of them are Christian type people, but yet they watch his behavior and that's okay. It's okay to mock a disabled guy and, make fun of him on camera. It's okay for him to say the kinds of, my mother used to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all. And also living by the golden rule. I mean, he's antithetical to everything that we as Americans anyway believe is appropriate behavior. So I don't get it either. I honestly, it's like, I feel like I'm in an alternate universe somewhere. Maybe I died and this is purgatory. I'm not sure.
Or it could be that you're just hanging out because it could be two of you. There could be two Cheries that are hanging out there. One that's in the other universe and the other that's in this universe. But Jatovi, I'm thinking that if folks were to make that trip, I'm not in a rush to get there. Just hit 61 and it'll happen at some point or another. But there are probably going to be some folks that are going to need some comedy when they get up to heaven's gates. Because I'm thinking that there's going to be Gabriel and Jesus and other folks up there that are going to be going like, so you thought you were going to make it up here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
That's pretty funny. Now go to hell. That's what they're going to say. Probably. Yeah.
I'm not even going to make that trip because I know I'm going to be I'm driving the bus. So if anybody wants to get on the bus, I got gasoline draws on, got my pom-poms ready, and I've got my stick shift. Hop on in. We're going for the party ride.
Well, I'm probably going to be in the luggage compartment.
You go for the party ride in the opposite direction to Toby?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
again, the things again, I said I'm a fan of bad jokes, and the things that sometimes just pop out. Just
and
happen.
that happens. And,
It happens.
I-
It might get you in trouble.
A really interesting thing, because I'm a big nerd as well. So I listen to Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson and that whole stuff, which is fun. It's some great stuff. He had on a discussion the other day, and Mark, you were talking about making that round trip.
Mhm.
So there is a scientific theory that we are in the middle of a black hole, or that we are in a black hole. So we're going to make or the way.
Oh, wait, was that
universe
racist? Toby, I'm sorry, that was a racist remark you just made. I'm just kidding.
I did. It was either a racist.
What did you just say? See what I
No,
mean?
it was
I did-
either a racist one, or it's back to the porn, because there is that brown hole. But so that there's this theory that because the way the universe works, it could be wrapping back around in time. So there could be another Earth, or another Milky Way, or the galaxy that we're in,
Yeah.
wrapping back around in time and starting back over. So
Well, maybe that's a little above my pay grade mentally, because I
Hold on a second. So I'm gonna bring it back down. So in this other universe, there is another person that is Trump, that is like really the Kennedy. So there is a Trump Kennedy in the other universe. So Trump is really Kennedy in this other universe.
My granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, thinks that Trump is a time traveler. I mean, that they have this theory about that whole thing. And I don't know about you guys, but I almost don't even want to know. It's like it's too much to deal with.
He's a time
And we're having
traveler.
to deal with Sam and his porno book in the church, and I'm still trying to get my arms around that.
But Cherie, hold on a second. If there's time travel, let's be honest. If there are certain things that you want to go see and witness, because there's this mythology, and there's several mythologies that are out there, but there's this notion that Cleopatra, no, it wasn't Cleopatra. Catherine might have died a less than noble death, coming back to pornography and all in that space. So you might want to go there and witness whether it was true or not. It involved the hoisting of an animal, and I'll just leave it at that. But definitely, there may be some folks that want to see whether that actually happened or not.
And when we were talking to Sam, I didn't want to bring up Mary Magdalene. I'm thinking, stay away from that.
I was about to do the same thing.
The greatest strippers of all time, So I don't know. It's all crazy, isn't it? Maybe we're all. I think I just finished a collection of short stories called "Hell No, Purgatory Yes," and they're all little stories about. Because I think that's maybe where we are, all of us. Ever think about that? Do you feel like every day maybe you're expiating for your sins in some way? Karma, call it whatever you want.
The Leftovers was that HBO show that everybody, half of the world disappeared and left everybody here. And then the same thing with Bird Box, which, Bird Box, I'll be honest, I'm dying in that movie quick, because if somebody tells me to look at something, I'm looking. I'm sorry, it could be a demon that's going to take my mind, and I'm still looking. So Bird Box, I never understood that. I'm dying quick in that movie. But yeah, that was another thing that was about.
But along those same lines, Cherie accused me of earlier having gone into the confessional, and there is no confessional in the apartment. So I'm gonna be perfectly honest here. I did go outside, and I went and found one of those birds, and it was confessing to them for a minute and everything, because you can confess to anything. You can confess to an animal. You can confess to anything. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. The show is really going off the rails and all in this space. So I definitely had one of those confessional moments, but I did it with a bird.
And I'm sitting there thinking, did I come on the, pardon the pun, did I come on the wrong day to the show? Because I think I'm in the porno episode. I thought I was doing comedy, and I just didn't quite know what to do with that. I had no porno to share. I had nothing I could contribute except for an opinion. I'm really sorry.
Opinions are totally allowed, you know. Then we got into a whole political discussion. Sasha brought up the notion of laughter, so I was glad that Sasha went there because sometimes he can not be always the most funniest person, as Jacoby will say. So I was glad that he realized that it was a comedy space that needed to be happening as well, and he definitely tried to lead us down that path and all in that space. So,
I
and
love that
Jacoby
guy.
will tell you that is not the norm.
Jacoby, did he not look like a character? I mean, he could have
Oh, he
been
did.
playing a character.
Mhm.
I mean, he was so refined in just the believability of if one of my actors dressed up like him and became, he was just wonderful. And I'm thinking, wait a second. I thought it was comedy. Now it's pornography. Now we're going to this guy over here and he's talking about Ukraine and how long the war will last. And my head's just spinning. And I'm thinking, I don't think I'm smart enough to be on this show because it's just like playing tennis with blinders on. You know, I don't know what's.
Oh,
Where
trust
did
me,
it
I was.
fall?
And you were just fun because that transition made no sense. Hey, let's talk porn. Let's talk church. Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh, that's. I mean, that's kind of in our parlance, Mark. Chitovi will tell you one of our rules is that you can't do the only two sins according to improv you can't do refusal and denial. Denial is to change and undercut what somebody's talking about on stage and just go off into your own little scene, your own little world. And refusal is when you ignore what they say and then do your own thing or say something according to what they're doing, but it has nothing to do with what they just said. And I thought we were kind of demonstrating the refusal and denial, rule of improv comedy because it was perfect for that.
Yeah.
If we were doing a class right now, we were teaching that.
Well, as Jacoby will tell you, I usually try to loop the conversations together, and sometimes Steve will usurp the role because I would have found a way to loop the Ukrainian in at some point or another. But even the whole notion of escapism, because you notice that's where I went with the conversation, because porn and comedy can be forms of escapism and all along those lines. But definitely, I'm personally thinking, since we're having the comedy moment at this point, that both of our presidents are probably over there keeping busy with some of their own porn. But that's just my own thoughts.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they don't have enough of it or something. I still think Melania looks like a blow-up doll, but that's just just my opinion. She just looks.
Isn't Melania isn't she the model for Barbie? Because like you said, you want to see Barbie's shoes, and you need to find out how those shoes are.
All of a sudden, everybody's bringing up porno with her, and I'm thinking, no, I just want to see how many different shoes she wears, and if I'd like to have any of those. That's what I was thinking about. But I don't know.
Jacoby wants one of the shoes too, but he's also looking for the Barbie dress. Jacoby has told me he's actually looking for the dress.
Jacoby has a foot fetish, I'm sure.
Yeah. Love that big toe. That index toe, especially when it looks like a finger and that little nail comes out. Ooh-wee.
Well,
and Venice over there
this little piggy goes all the way.
Oh yeah.
Jacoby, I've got to ask you a very important question because this has been really on my mind for weeks and everything. So it's actually involving your son and all in that space. I did not think of you because you work for the Bulls, you work for the Canes. What's with this Miami shirt? Are you like a Dolphins fan that I didn't know? Okay.
Growing up,
he's coming out.
He's coming out.
Yeah, coming out. I'm coming out the water because I'm a Dolphin. Always been a Dolphins fan.
Hold on. Yeah, and Cherie, I've got to ask you a question because of California and coming back to the animals, because I do love animals. You totally tell you that I'm an animal lover in a lot of spaces. What's up with this daggone sea otter in California that is terrorizing people and stealing their surfboards? Because I'm trying to figure this out. The otter is pissed that he's stealing surfboards. So what's going on with this otter? Please explain it to me.
I think they're finally asserting themselves. If you notice, they just sit there and kind of flap and they make a little noise once in a while. Now they're saying, hey, that's my beach, bitch. Get off of it. And they're taking it back. I think it's that whole Ukraine-Russian mentality. That's ours. That's our territory.
That's our beach, and we want our beach, and we want our surfboard.
You got the otter, you got orca attacking boats. So
you
it's
got
happening.
sharks out there in that warm water, and you got whales that are, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I try to stay in my little cubicles and just insulate myself with a pair of headphones.
But
And
Jacoby, are we gonna see, like, is this gonna be a new sport? Because I'm waiting to see if the otter is stealing the surfboard. I want to see him catch a wave. If the otter is stealing the surfboard, he needs to catch a wave. So when are we gonna see the otter catch a wave?
There was that old cartoon that was Animal Olympics.
Huh?
Yeah, kind of show him age a little bit, even though it's not too old. But yeah, older than him.
how old is he and
Um,
what's his name, Jacoby?
10 years old, and his name is Bennett.
Bennett. Love it.
Bennett.
Do you name
But
him
yeah.
after Tony?
No, it was just the one name that I didn't get the couch for picking.
Oh,
What?
the other names the wife was gonna put
Yeah,
you
so
on the
there was a
couch.
whole list of names. You guys
Oh.
don't even act like that, Cherie. You know you had to pick out the names. And if your husband picked out the names, anybody else picked out the names, they were in trouble.
Yeah, that's
So-
true.
Yep. So that was the only one that I put a check mark by that was hey,
Bennett. It's
He
a
also,
great
he also
name.
has a daughter. What's the daughter's name again, Jacoby?
Layla.
Nayla?
Same thing. Layla.
Oh, Layla.
Yep.
Like
Layla.
Muhammad Ali's daughter's name is Layla, I think,
Yep.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
It
Muhammad
is.
Ali's daughter and Hathaway, the Hathaway daughter as well.
Yep.
Oh,
There's even a song named Layla.
yes.
None of that is in context with the name. It was just a name that was written down, and I put a check
On the
mark
couch.
by it.
Okay.
You were trying to avoid the couch at all costs.
I'm not trying to live on that
I
couch.
just stay off that sofa.
Yeah,
You know, I really would if I were you. Sounds
I
like
have
it's a
learned
breeding ground for
that.
something,
Yes.
for children or something.
There she goes again with the pornography and breeding grounds. She's going up.
That's what happened to us today. Sam got us on this track where now everybody's going to be thinking about that. And I'm thinking as a publicist too, you guys. I'm thinking that's a great hook to get some
Wait,
exposure. Pardon that pun.
No,
On air to talk about those two things. You know how you're bringing the healing for pornography into the church, and all I'm seeing are priests opening the door and coming flashing people when he's saying that. But I didn't want to say it because
you don't want to go there and everything. But Cherie, you just said that
I
it's
think
got
it's
you on a
appropriate.
certain track and everything. So does that mean that you're having a one-track mind?
I don't think so. I mean, I have parallel tracks. They don't always go in the same direction, but that's what I call them anyway. Parallel, they're sort of side by side kind of thing. I don't know. But I didn't know I had no idea we were talking pornography because I would have, tried to do some research first. So I knew what I was talking about.
Did
I
you
just
want to
said-
see my history? I got some good research.
I was going to look up all the Debbie Does Dallas. I was going to look up all the titles or something. I mean, it could at least been intelligent about talking about the subject. I could have referred to a film, Deep Throat or whatever, you think. But, oh no, I had no warning. All of a sudden I'm on and this guy's talking about pornography and churches. And I'm picturing priests unclothed in confessional booths. And I'm
But-
thinking, no, that you can't have impure thoughts. You're going to go to hell again.
That's what he said. But along those same lines and everything, what do you say to those folks that are, because you just mentioned it, those pornography movies, they usually come from movie titles. So you just said Debbie Does Dallas, and I think there's been all kinds of titles. So I'm sure there's going to be a Barbie porn movie. There's probably going to be an Oppenheimer porn movie. But how you make an Oppenheimer porn movie when it's about the making of the nuclear bomb is beyond me,
Well,
unless it's the making of another
I
bomb.
think what you do
Mark, I can
is you
tell you
do-
about that.
you do a minute and a half of dialogue, then you have the big explosion, and then it just sort of fades to black. I don't know what to say.
That's right. It always fades to black.
Oh shit! I'm sorry I didn't mean to swear, but I shouldn't. See, I said the wrong thing. You notice how I did that? I did not mean to say the wrong thing, but obviously I did. Now Jacoby is mad at me because he thinks I'm making some kind of, I don't know, pornographic black joke that I don't even know what it means.
You know, I mean, we talked about the black hole, brown hole, and now fading to black. It all matches.
It all matches.
Explosion.
But
It's all
Cherie, there's been
together.
this whole concept, and I'm sure that Sam would love me bringing this up and everything. But there was a push recently for feminist porn, and some people would say that doesn't match. That the two are diametrically opposed. But hey, if it works, it works. But I do know that there was a push in that direction where I guess the feminists were going like, wait a minute. Every time I go to the movies and it's those kind of movies, it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I want a storyline. So I guess they're trying to make feminist porn that has a storyline.
I want an ABC plot in this film. I want some kind of arc in the, pardon the pun, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Geez, I can't say anything there. Everything I say, I'm going to be afraid Sam's going to be listening to us. He's going to turn us into the church. That always scares me. He's sitting there talking. I'm thinking about Sister Severinus, who was, the head mother at our school. And she used to knock us around, slap us here and there. And so I just don't want to even get that in my head because I know I'll get in trouble. It's just a matter of time before she catches up with us and slaps us in the face or something.
Is it bad that I'm trying to think of the storyline behind why the plumber came?
Well, I mean, the plumber came. That was bad.
I think because the pipe was clogged.
Could have
And he had
been.
to stick it in really hard, stick that pipe in really hard to clean out that hole. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Full
Cherie just
storyline
mentioned
that they want now.
Cherie just mentioned paddles, and apparently that's a big new sport. So I'm going like, wait a minute. I think it's supposed to be like racquetball, but that's not what I think of when I think of paddles. I think of those things that you get spanked with and all in that space. But apparently it's a sport now. So maybe it's the sport of getting spanked.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's the whole new thing. Maybe that's a whole porno movie storyline right there. The story that you buy the paddles in and, it gets suspenseful. It's a thriller. I don't know. It's not my space, and that's not where my head would go, even though I'm talking about it already. But maybe that is a new thing. I my little bubble, my little comedic bubble. That's all I can.
Well, folks may not know this, but Jatovia will love this, and I'm going to set up another joke because that's what I do and everything. But believe it or not, according to the way I figured it out and everything, but Jatovia, I want you to follow me along here and everything. But if we're going by the Bible and Bible aids and pornography aids and everything, I'm guessing that Eden must be based in North Carolina because last time I checked, there was a major store here called Adam and Eve. So wouldn't Eden literally be based in North Carolina?
I mean, there is a city Eden in North Carolina.
There's Eden in North Carolina, and there's the Adam and Eve that sells the AIDS. It sells those AIDS for sex and everything. That's based in North Carolina.
AIDS. Nobody want the AIDS.
Nobody wants to buy AIDS with their sex mark. I'm sorry. That's not good marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, things that help you out. Not that AIDS, but things that help you out. I'm trying to go with another word.
You got to do a tagline then on that because I think people might misconstrue that too. Everything is misunderstood. Everything is misconstrued. I think that's a whole joke in and of itself.
Well, there's these those things that, like the movies that Sam was talking about, there's these things that begin with a D and end with an O. There's this thing that begins with that vibrates. There's all those things. Those are the aids I was talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll think that way. I'll get my mind to go on that track.
Yeah, go down that one track, Mike.
Okay.
Jatovia tried to do the ad.
I'm still trying to add the letters together.
The woman on the panel got it because, like I said,
Bennett's got his feet up. Don't you dare deal with those toes, Jatovia. You leave those toes alone.
This
Wait a minute,
piggy went to market. This little piggy.
Wait a minute. I do have a very important question. You said that your toes are horrible. That's why you would never star in some of these movies and why you think you're going to in the opposite direction and everything. Did either Bennett or Layla inherit your bad toes?
I mean, I don't check out their feet that much. I mean, they're cute when they're young, but Layla's hit 13.
You just watch those feet. They're going to have hair on them and everything.
Yeah. They start to stink. Yeah. Layla's got big feet. They get to a point.
that's when they need to move out. That's not like it's a certain age or it's a certain, it's time for college. They got to be on their own. They got to make their own way. No, you check out their feet. And if they're hairy and they smell, they go.
Yep.
They're gone. I don't care if they're 5.
At 5, you're gonna kick them out if they're hairy and they're smelly?
Yep. Get a job.
You gotta get a job. Hey,
Get a
Jacoby,
job.
and then I'm gonna ask Siri, and we've been going way over because the economic show is going this whole time, but that's okay. We were having fun and all in that space. But Cherie, and I'm gonna actually direct this to Jacoby because his kids are about to be teenagers. But when your kids were younger, were you the hovering parent? Were you the one that sat there and said, "Nah, I don't like that one"? So were you the one that when they brought their girlfriends by, you were like, "No, that one's not going to be the one"?
I
Cherie.
think, did you ask? Oh, you're asking me?
And then I'm going to turn it to Jacoby. But yes, because you were the one that your parents.
I think I was a pretty doting mom. I mean, I was like the lioness. I pretty much raised all 3 by myself, and I raised 2, and then got married again later and had another one, and then raised him by myself after when he was 4 years old. And I think I was pretty, maybe too hands-on, maybe too Italian motherish with them. But that's okay. They don't speak to me now, so it's fine. I'm just kidding. I think I don't know. I think if I could go back and do it over again, I'd make a lot of changes. But none of us can ever do that. I think we just do our best.
Yeah,
with
that
our
makes
kids.
sense and everything.
And
Hey,
I want mine to have a very upscale value system. I want them to be good to other people. I want them to leave the world with something that's productive and meaningful. That's my wish.
Yep, definitely. I hear you. Hey, Jacoby, so are you going to be because Layla's going to be the first one. That means a teenage girl. So I can already see you sitting there going like, oh, heck no. That one is not going out with you today and everything.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it right now because that's not happening in my life.
Oh, but it will, Jacoby. You can always
he
call N3. I'll be happy to help you.
I'm
You
going to
can
need
get-
all the help I can get because
Well,
I don't
I'll
want
give
to
you
have to
some
fight a
advice,
little 12-year-old kid.
I will help you if you want it. I'll
Yep,
tell you what
'cause I don't
not
wanna-
to do.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't want to be that dad who's fighting a 15-year-old kid, maybe 12-year-old kid. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Come
the
on, come on.
sneaking in the
No, that's
bedroom
my dog.
window, after curfew, that kind of thing.
Jacoby, don't try to fool us. I know that under that desk where you got all that stuff over there by your side is that 12 gauge shotgun. So you've already got it prepared in case the wrong person comes by the door. So I already know it's over there.
Well, since I'm not big into guns, I don't even have any. Hate to say that on air, so nobody come in this house because we got a dog. I will sick the dog on them, even though the dog will probably wag the tail and run away. I will figure something out. I got a cup full of milk. I will throw the cup full of milk.
Well,
Right
I have
on.
a mouthful of profanity for somebody. And you know what I'll do? I'll just throw a porno film at them. How's that?
That's right.
Gotta work every time. But
that.
Him
Jacoby,
will fade to dark.
Yes.
But you tell me that you got the typical dog that is not a good guard dog. So when the burglar comes in, he's literally going to be showing them where all the good items are. He's going to show them there's Jacoby's computer, there's
Here's the
Jacoby's.
china. Here's the silver.
Well,
Here's the
I will admit,
jewelry.
yep, the Cammy will bark and she'll sound nasty. Then she'll walk away and go lay in the bed.
Yeah. Well, that's
Will she
watchdog
at least
for
tell
you.
you what happened after you come back home and everything's gone? Will she at least give you a clue into who took it?
Nope, because she'll have the trash can turned over and pulled out some paper towels from the trash can to help out. That's my dog. That's my dog.
Yeah, well, better to have that kind of a dog than one that bites you.
True.
You know,
Very true.
When you don't let it get in the pantry cupboard and eat everything. Probably better to have a dog that
Yeah.
is nicer and more friendly. I
Well,
think.
sure. Yeah, I had that incident as well, but it wasn't mine. But it's fixed now. But as Jacoby would tell you, and they have moved. I was doing that lovely good neighbor thing, so I cat sat for a friend because, like I said, I do love animals, and cats is one of
Oh,
the animals
yeah.
that I love. And I cat sat, and literally, I still have to work and make a living, so I went to work and everything. And the cat was like, "Oh, Mark gone? Well, these blinds are going to be my new toy." So, as folks used to see when they watched the show, they would see the torn blinds because the cat had a field day until the apartment complex came about 2 months ago and fixed said blinds. But yeah, that cat was having a field day. I'm thinking that Jacoby actually had his camera on here and was encouraging the cat. Jacoby's never admitted this to me, but I think that Jacoby encouraged the cat. It was like, "Hey, Mark ain't there. Just go ahead and have your own party." So go ahead and admit it, Jacoby. You told the cat to, huh?
Yeah,
Of
cats
course.
have attitude, I think.
They do.
They just do. They do whatever they want. A
Exactly.
dog, I don't know, they're a little more needy, They do anything for anything. So they're nicer.
They
I
can be
so-
nicer.
So a cat's in the porn and a dog is in the church, or
See, now there's a good movie for you. There's a lot of money shots in that. If
exactly.
you're paying attention.
Yep. A
So-
whole lot of money.
I don't know if
I
that's
mean,
against
they
the
do.
federal rules, but
So
that's
a
not my
dog does
industry. So I
a
don't,
dog does
I
a
don't
lot
know
of stuff
what
for a
works.
bone.
Pardon?
A dog does a lot of stuff for a bone.
Well, see, there you go with your porno
So, I don't
language
know.
again.
Well, I mean, isn't the one of the names for a cat also tied into a female anatomy part? So, like I said, there could be all kinds of
Donald
names in
Trump's
it.
favorite thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Do you think he'll sue us for talking about him? I don't think he can he? He's a public figure.
he's a
I
public
mean-
figure. He's an open door, and like I said, what's he going to do? And last time I checked, the truth against the best defense against libel is the truth. So I don't think we've told any lies. So therefore,
No,
we
we
are.
haven't. And I think
He'll-
he's got his hands full right now with,
He may sue the channel for allowing black people on the channel. That's what he may do.
oh, and women.
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
and women.
too.
Yeah.
Outspoken
then-
women.
And then they'll go down to Disney and try to get with his buddy DeSantis because they would probably be upset at us as well because they don't like folks down there, which is why I think it's one of the black fraternities that said, "Nope, we're not going down there. You folks are crazy."
I have no idea with those people. I can't believe that's the best of what this country can produce to step up and lead it. That's what stuns me. It's like, is this some kind of cosmic joke or something?
More strawberry milk.
Get more strawberry milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
disturbing.
think Bennett should run, honestly.
Bennett for president.
Yes, Layla can be his VP.
Yeah, I like this. There's only one problem with that, and I'm setting myself up for another bad joke and everything. But as soon as he runs, everybody's going to be thinking about that esteemed person that had that same last name that was also not a fan of America and all of that. So we got to do damage control with the Bennett Arnold thing.
Oh, Benedict, you're talking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
See, different name.
totally
Yeah,
different name.
He was a kind of stupid, Benedict was.
So now he's down. This is where the comedy comes from. Now he's down on the floor laughing at I don't know what, maybe Ben and Holly that he's been watching and
Yeah,
saying he wants some more strawberry milk. This is the comedy I get every day.
I
Y'all
think
are
that
jealous,
is
I know.
that's got to be just a huge relief, comic relief from Bennett.
Yep.
I want some strawberry milk. Yeah, well, guess what? I want to win the lottery today.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I did buy a ticket, but I don't know if it's going to win. But hopefully it'll win. But I did
Oh, I
buy.
bought one and
one
I'm
ticket.
going to win. I'm going to win. I'm counting on it. I do that every day when I buy a ticket.
I
And
need
then
to
I
buy
try
one.
not to be super disappointed. I try not to take it personally.
When you lose,
I win
Yeah,
every
I do.
time I buy a ticket. I win every single time. I win the I win the loss of my money every time.
See, I win that I know I'm going to lose.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
that's what I win. Is that I get the right answer. I will not really win.
we'll not really win.
You got a joke?
He's
He's
got
going
a
to
job.
watch Bennett Holly again. I'm
He's
going to have to
what?
go get him some milk.
Well, on that
Okay.
note, we get ready to get out of here. Cherie, like I said, we got to the comic part and we've done about an hour of this. So we did get to the part that I was hoping we'd get to, but it's called double booking. So that's what happens sometimes on this show and everything. But we did
That's
get to
okay.
some.
I just didn't have any advance warning. So all of a sudden I turned on and I hear somebody talking about porno in a church, and I'm thinking, am I on the wrong day? I really wasn't sure where I was and what was going on. But thank you so much for letting me come on and talk to you guys.
No,
It
it's
was very
totally fun and everything. Cherie, if you could tell folks how they can get in touch with you. You do an amazing job of PR. Some of your serious guests have been on the show. And definitely if I get out to California, which has not been on my radar to get there, even though I need to figure out a way to get there because I've got friends, including the director of This Christmas, that are out there. So I need to visit some friends out there, including
Well,
even
and same
Jatovi's
thing with-
sister and wife and everything. But there are a
Yes,
number of
that's
friends
right.
that might.
He said he might be coming out. So hopefully we will have a show or something going on when he does, do that, because we'd love to have you guys come to
Yeah,
the
definitely would
theater.
love to do that and everything. I definitely want you to tell folks how they can reach you. So I'm going to turn it over to you on that. But Jatovi,
Okay.
she just set up another joke and she just set up something about, we were talking about porn, and she just said about coming out. That's totally like not there and everything. So there she is,
See?
coming out a guest.
There you are. There you are.
I mean, that's been the today's show.
Yeah. So Cherie, tell folks how they can
Lots of
reach you,
fun.
and definitely about the PR agency, and that's how they can
Well,
reach you, and
people
also
can
the ground links.
probably, yeah, people can reach. I'll just give my email address: Cherie, CHERIE at OCCrazies. That's CRAZIES.com. That's the easiest way probably to catch me. The other email address is too long.
Gotcha. And like I
It'd be
said,
another
Cherie
hour.
and like I said, Cherie does do some amazing PR as well. I think we've had about 3 or 4 of her folks and some others that are scheduled to come on in the near future, including some folks that are apparently going to play Trump, Clinton, and Putin. So hopefully that'll
Yes,
happen
I
in the near
can
future.
make that happen. I just would have to know your schedule, but we're actually rehearsing this coming Sunday from 9 to noon California time. So if you have anything or you want to tape them or do something, let me know, because that's probably when I'll have them together. It's hard to get them together because they all have day jobs,
Yeah,
but they're really good. You would love them.
I look forward to it, and we can definitely do a pre-record. The other 2 shows that I'm involved with are at 2 and 4 p.m. 2 p.m. on Mondays and 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. So, and that goes to 6. So maybe if they get off their day job, but that in California, that would be like around 1 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So that might not work.
You know, let me,
And all in
let me
that
see
space.
what I can work out with them, and just let me know.
Yeah, we'll
And
definitely do that.
Jatovi, it was a pleasure to meet you
Pleasure to meet you as well.
and spend time with you today. You guys are great. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well. Going to hit this lovely little thing that gets us out of here, which is the folks running around the world and all in that space. So definitely this has been an enjoyable conversation. We're going to let Cherie go back to getting her clients their various jobs and all in that space. So we're going to let that happen right now. And then we'll be back with other shows. I think the economy show is wrapping up, and me and Jatovi, I think at around 12 or 12:30 have to jump on the media show, which is going on, talking about what's going on in the media landscape. So definitely get ready to go.
Have a great day, both of you.
Do the same.
You do the same.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya.
Bye.